Thanks for joining us, everybody. We have another 5 tips in 15 minutes for busy attorneys, lawyers, and this time we're going to find out from Steve Hochstein what it takes to make a great portrait for your law firm website or any other use. Steve is the founder and president of Harvard Studio Photography. He is a recovering photojournalist whose photography has been featured in publications and websites around the world. So here he goes. He's going to provide us with some tips, and take it away, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Jean. I hope everybody's doing well today. Let's jump right in. So the first question I get asked often is, where should we do our law firm portraits? Should we do them in the studio, or should we do them at our law firm? Should we use a background? So the pros of doing portraits in the studio is that it's a controlled environment. There are not a lot of variables. I can control the lighting, I can control the background. It generally looks clean and classic. It allows for uniformity. I mean, I can recreate that. If you have multiple attorneys coming in at different times, it's easy to duplicate that setup. And the studio portrait travels well. Let's say, God forbid, you leave your firm, or maybe you're doing a speaking engagement. It's a headshot that you can send out and reuse for other things, as well as LinkedIn and other social media. As far as doing photographs on location, it adds an environmental look. It can help showcase your office. If you have a really nice office, maybe you want that background in your photograph. That works really nicely. Also, we can move portraits around your law firm. We can photograph your attorneys with different environmental backgrounds, so that there is some variety if that's the look your website needs. It's also a little bit less formal. Because it is in your own setting. It looks more like an editorial photograph. It's not as stiff sometimes as a studio portrait can look. There's also the opportunity to do what we call editorial photographs, which is maybe it's a photograph of your attorneys in action, talking to customers, not looking at the camera, doing stuff, and even out on a location somewhere. If you're doing environmental law, photographing on a job site would bring that in to the photograph and pop it up on your website a little bit. It allows for a little bit more variety in your background. You can work almost anywhere, and you don't need a studio setup to do that. And it provides a little bit of action and motion to the photograph and then to your website. It shows your lawyers in action and not staring at the camera. It tends to be a little bit more natural in that way as well. What do I wear? That's a question I get a lot. Especially for people who haven't been photographed a lot. I mean, there are so many options, especially for women, but I like to go with simplicity. You don't want your clothing to detract from your face. The photograph is all about your face. So I would stay away from the bright pinks and the orange suits, because that tends to drag the eye, the viewer's eye away from your face. You want it to be professional. Don't overdo it. Don't make it too frilly or too nightclubby. I have had some attorneys who have shown up looking like they're going clubbing. Not necessarily good for a law firm website. Jewelry, again, you don't want it to detract from your face. You want to keep it clean and not big and clunky. There is a point where something, it gets, I've seen, I don't know what you call it, but the big Egyptian looking breastplates. Maybe you don't want to go with that. That may draw just a little bit too much attention away from your face. And also, you want to keep it clean. You don't want heavy prints. You don't want something that's too floral or too busy. paisley or something like that, because again, that tends to detract from the subject of the photograph, which is your face. Men, same thing, simplicity, professional. I like a medium to a medium dark suit. You don't want to go black, but like a gray or a navy blue, something that doesn't have too heavy a pattern. If I've seen the cross-check pattern on some suits, that tends to busy up a photograph a little bit as well. Make sure your shirt is clean and pressed and well-fitting, especially around the collar. We've had, some subjects who come in with a shirt that's a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose, and it doesn't look good if it doesn't fit properly around your neck. As far as a tie, you want something that's a little bit subdued, tasteful, something that goes well with your suit. Maybe bring several ties with you, but I would stay away from the Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse ties. As fun as those are, maybe it's not the image that you want to send in your photograph. Prepping for your photograph. Don't get your hair cut the day of the shoot. I've had people come in straight from a haircut and proud of it. I just got my hair cut. It looks great. Hair all over them. Yeah, I mean, we have a lint roller. We can take some of that off, but I would recommend that you get your hair cut a few days or even a week before your photograph. Give it time to settle, and so that it doesn't become an issue as far as having cut hair on your face or on your clothing. You may wish to consider a makeup stylist. Even for the men, because most men get a little bit of shiny, a little bit of powder, takes that shine down. It makes a photograph much better looking, and nobody has to know. And when you're done with the photograph, if you're self-conscious about it, it comes, it's clean makeup. It comes right off in the men's room when you're done. Don't overthink. Keep it clean. If you're not sure about which color, bring another jacket, bring a second shirt, bring more ties. And then, we can give you advice. We like the blue jacket better than the gray jacket. It's not difficult to bring several articles of clothing with you to the shoot. Don't worry about the pants unless we're photographing you 3/4 or full length, because on most headshots, we're not going to see the pants. Don't bring your work with you into the photo shoot. Clear your desk, clear your mind, make sure that when you show up, you're focused. Follow our directions. If we will have an iPad with us in most cases, and we can see the photographs as we're taking them. If you don't like them, speak up. Tell me that, I don't like that head tilt, or I think my other side looks better. We're happy to work with you, but be present at the photo shoot. Try not to come in thinking about all the things you have to do as soon as you leave, because that will show in the photograph. As far as post-production, again, simplicity. Don't overdo your makeup. If we have a makeup stylist, they know what they're doing. Let them do it. You can give them some tips. You can give them some ideas of how you do your makeup, and they will be more than happy to help you with that. Don't overdo it, because you will see heavy makeup in a photograph. I don't like to do a lot of, I come from an editorial background. I've seen portraits that are just so over photoshopped that they look like a painting. That's not my style of shooting. I don't think that looks good. I like it to be natural looking. We do a light touch up, but I don't like to overdo it with the Photoshop, because no matter how good you are, it still shows up. You can still, people who know what to look for, even people who don't know what to look for, know what a Photoshopped photograph looks like, and you don't want to have that. Do we have any questions?
Anybody? Steve, I have a question here.
Yeah.
How long in advance do I need to plan for a photo shoot?
That's a good question. Generally a couple of weeks. I tend to book up, most photographers will tend to book up 1 or 2 weeks in advance, some more, some less. But you definitely you wanna plan it out and make sure that your attorneys are going to be available that day. A popular day or a popular thing to do for your photo shoot is plan it on a day when the courts are closed, Columbus Day, something like that. I'm not taking off for most holidays. Most photographers are available on holidays like Columbus Day. Great days to have your staff come in, do your photo shoots without having to run off to court or getting stuck on a court date.
Here's another one. So how am I going to be able to review the photography that you take of me?
There are several ways that we do that. Like I said, we have an iPad that we bring with us. It's Wi-Fi to the camera. So we can look at photographs in just short of real time. Sometimes depending on the Wi-Fi in the room we're working in, it takes a couple of seconds for the photograph to come in, but we can look through the photographs while we're shooting. And once we're done with your shoot, you can review them. We also will provide an online gallery of photographs. You can access that from any browser, bring it home, let your team help you with your selection, get back to your point of contact with the number of that selection and any correction requests, and that will come back to us.
So on those correction requests, what if I have, something just erupted on my face that day, or I realize there's a lot of wisp in the back of my head? How do you take care of this?
Point it out. There are a couple of general rules that we have about photoshopping. If it's something that's going to be there next week, we don't touch it without getting instructed to do so. If you have a mole or something, that's going to any identifying marks, that generally stays unless you specifically request us to take it out. If there's a pimple or you cut yourself shaving, we will generally take that out without having to be asked to do so.
That's all I have. Anybody else have any questions?
I just sent one.
All right, hasn't shown up yet, at least on my end.
It's in the chat.
I can ask.
Okay.
Yeah, Joan, ask.
Hi, Jean. All right, so we get new people all the time, and we put their pictures up on the website. From a lighting perspective, how can we ensure that the pictures are lit the same, in 2020 as they are in 2021?
Generally, I mean, when I work with a law firm or any company that's having me do portraits, I will make notes on what I'm doing. And when I'm asked to come back to photograph new people, I will reference those notes. I'll reference the photographs from the previous shoot, and I will try my best to duplicate it. It's not easy to duplicate it exactly. There are always some variables in it, but I can get, and I think most photographers can get pretty close. If you switch photographers, if the last photographer you used retired and you have to find a new photographer, provide your new photographer with the photograph that you're trying to match. In most cases, they can do so. The big variable there is the background. If that photographer has a specific background, chances are I can come close to it, but I don't know if I can match that exactly.
No, mine are all green screened, and then we put a background in so everyone's on the same background.
Then, well, that's easy then. Just share with me a photograph of your previous shoot, and I will try to match that lighting.
Okay.
Unless, and I'm going to point this out, unless that lighting is really bad. I've had photographs shared with me before that were not good photographs, and there was discussion on we can make this better. In some cases, that's not possible. You have 40 attorneys and they're all photographed with bad lighting. So I will, if I'm asked to duplicate that, I will try my best, but I want to make an improvement on the photographs.
There are two more questions and they're back to back. How do you know what your good side is? And do you touch up most of your professional headshots?
What your good side is. Your good, that is a difficult question because a lot of people think they have a good side and they're wrong. Typically when I do a portrait shoot, I will have my subjects face left for the first part of the shoot. We'll review photographs and then I'll have them change sides, face to the right. I generally will keep my lighting the same unless I'm specifically asked to move my lighting. But some people, I mean, in most cases, a headshot is pretty much shot straight on, even though your shoulders may be to one direction or the other. Look at the photograph. If you decide that the left side of your face is, better, in this direction, point it out to the photographer. I know I will probably pay a little bit more attention to that when I'm shooting, but I will probably photograph you both sides and let you make the decision as to which is your better side. And what was the second part of that question?
And do you touch up most of your professional headshots?
The final selections I touch up. I personally, I tend to overshoot sometimes. I'm not going to take 3 photographs and stop. I'll do a bunch in this direction, a bunch in that direction. Once you have made your final selection or your attorneys have made their final selections, we will go in and we will touch up those selections. Light, again, that generally is a light touch up, removing some marks or pimples and then doing a filter to soften the skin a little bit. I personally don't like to overdo it on the touch-ups.
You do a great job. We had such a fun time on post-Pollock, remember, with all of those actions and where they were all kind of, you had dozens and dozens for each attorney. I'm like, you couldn't choose. They were all so good. Everybody was
I can dial
really
it down.
into it.
If I'm doing a shoot for you and you think I'm providing too many options, just let me know.
No, we had a hard time choosing. Do you remember? We were like, they're just, everybody was just so into it. Great photo shoot.
That's good.
Do we have any other questions?
I don't see any. I think that's it. This will be posted online and we'll provide it to the viewers that have attended. And thanks so much. Look for another webinar coming soon from the Legal Marketing Beacon. Steve, thanks for the presentation. It went great. Thank you very much.
Jean. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Yep.